on vacation. Okay. That was good. We need a call to order, so.
We are calling this meeting to order and we're going to have a roll call. Mike
Yes.
and Nick.
Yes.
Sue is absent.
Sue's absence. Announcements and correspondence. If you are planning on speaking during the public comment portion, of the meeting, please take a moment now. If you haven't done so, to always to sign the sign-in sheet on the back counter. Okay, we do not have any meeting guests. I have reviewed the minutes. And you're gonna make a motion that we sign them? Yep. Second.
I'll second for the September 4th meeting.
Okay. So a roll call, Nick
Yes.
and Mike.
Yes.
Motion passed. And then to accept the agenda.
I'm gonna make a motion that we accept it. We just need a second.
I'll second for discussion.
Are there any changes from the notice? I read through it, pretty good. Nick, you got anything you want to change?
No, I don't see anything. Department heads, we're good. Good. Okay.
Okay. Roll call.
Okay. Nick
Yes.
and Mike.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, I have looked at the purchase orders and
Okay.
approved them. So I'll make a motion that we accept the purchase orders.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, Nick
Yes.
and Mike.
Yes.
Motion passed. And the same with the warrants. We need a motion.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion. I have reviewed them and signed them.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay. Mike
Yes.
and Nick.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Do you have any public comments?
No.
Okay. Safety concerns.
Safety.
All good?
Okay.
Police Department, Roy.
Yep, thank you, Mike. Just a couple of items for you guys this evening. Status on new officer hire update. We have conducted some supervisory interviews with a select group of candidates over the last 2 to 3 weeks. I think we have another one scheduled for later this week as well. My hope is to be able to bring a candidate forth to you by the end of, I would say probably next month sometime. Bring a candidate to you for approval. So as I get more information on that, I'll update you accordingly, but that process is moving along, albeit slowly.
Are you pleased?
Yes, I am. So
So there's options.
I'll have more information to follow on that, but moving along.
Okay, great.
Yep. Second item is relative to Brimfest, just a couple of updates to that. I know we've discussed this over several meetings, but obviously all the permits have been secured. We'll have 2 officers assigned specifically to security throughout Brimfest on Friday and Saturday during all of our events there. There is a post-parade military service, I believe, that's taking place over at the cemetery,
Yes.
according to Jill. So we will assist Jill with people getting some apparatus across 43 over to the cemetery for that service to take place. We'll also put out a couple of nixle alerts leading up to Brimfest on Friday and Saturday, just making people aware of road closures and et cetera, things like that. So Cassie sent me some information on that today, and we'll follow up and make sure those get put out accordingly, just giving people more information and updates on those closures. One other item I did not put on the agenda tonight is we do have an event this Friday at the police department, our drive-through paper shredding event. RJ's Auto Pros and Hometown Bank are the sponsors of that event every year, and they're doing it again this year. So from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., we'll have a shredding truck on site along with some volunteers. So anybody that has some papers and documents they need to get rid of, they can just drive through the police department. Don't even have to get out of your car. Volunteers will unload the stuff out of your cars and get you on your way. So this Friday from 11 to 1.
Thank you. Quick and easy. Okay, Nick, Fire Department?
The fire department, Chief Malali is not in attendance tonight, so I told him I'd give his update. No old business under new business. The ambulance has been ordered. We were told it's 2.5 to 3 year build time, so we're just waiting now for that process to take place. The fire department is preparing for Brimfest. Sausage sales this year will actually, they're going to be a little different because of sponsorships that they were able to obtain. They are just going to be taking donations for the sausages. So we know that times are not always easy for everybody. So they're going to be handing out sausages and they'll take donations for those. There's no set price this year. They were also getting ready for the parade, so getting that all set up. We were given an update, possibly the finish and delivery of the fire department kitchen table should be September 23rd. Anxiously awaiting the arrival of that to finish up that process over there. Then lastly, this is an important piece for our residents. We do have an EMS renewal levy on the ballot this year. This will be coming on the ballot up here in November. This is not a new tax. There will be more information coming out. It is a straight renewal. This gets renewed every 5 years, I believe. So we're asking for renewal with no additional money, straight as it was before. The nice piece with the renewals is as more houses are added, it'll spread out that cost. So actually it ends up being a little bit less per household because we've had more houses brought in since the fire.
And that's a big problem. A lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's definitely going to be less.
I know you and I have tried to explain it 100 times to people with pizzas and pies and
They
everything
don't
else.
like pizza explanation.
We've tried, but yeah, honestly, it's just a straight renewal. There was discussion, do we ask for additional money? Craig was able to drill down in his budget and say, no, we don't need it. We're not going to ask for more than we need. So we're able to keep that as the original money coming in. We've got.
That's no brainer.
Yep.
Okay,
And that's
thanks.
the update.
Okay. Admin.
All right, no old business. For new business, I did receive a solution and quote for new solar panel lighting at the Brimfield sign, so the entrance and exit from the company that installed the signs. So just received that, so we'll move forward in working with them to install those new lights.
What was the cost?
So per solar powered lighting system, it's $880 per sign. So we'll have 4 signs
That was per sign, you said?
per sign, yeah.
Thank you.
So, is there a guarantee with these? 'Cause those other ones.
Yes.
They didn't last very long.
Yeah, so these are commercial grade, whereas the current ones were not so commercial grade.
I think they were close.
Yeah, so I believe, and I'll get some more details, but I believe that these should last, I think, up to 10 years for the solution.
At
So,
least where are they gonna have to put the solar panel? Is it on top of the unit or is it?
so the way that they explained it to me, it will actually be on the in. So let's say you're facing the sign, you have the side that's closest to the road, and it's, let me say, preface this with some of it depends on where the sun is hitting and
Right.
trees and everything else. But they're gonna try and put the solar panels on the inside of the sign versus the street side, and then of course angle them towards the sun.
Okay.
So they won't have to go on the ground, but they will not, they'll be connected lower down on the sign.
Yeah, they're pretty dark at night.
Yeah. The next piece, so Chief Mosley and Joe and I met just to discuss the Nixle alert process. So currently, one of the areas we discussed is, an area of possibility to change is in regards to the roads notifications. Anytime Dave might have a road closure, instead of having to go to the chief or his staff to try and post those road closures on Nixle, I'm now going to be looped in the process. So just as another resource to be able to post those Nixle alerts. So the chief has given me access and we'll go through some training there. We also looked, Chief Malali does have access, and we're also adding Ron as a backup as well. So in case there's a fire alert that needs to go out, Ron could then have ability to do that as well. And again, if neither of them are available, they could come to either the police staff or myself to post those as well.
Nick, as I started talking about this thing, the one thing, there was, one day where we had no, all the trucks coming down 18.
Yeah.
Nobody was, they eventually got in touch with me, but my whole thing when I had Holly start looking into this, I think we need to have an elected official out there. I mean, if we get a phone call, we answer it most times.
Yeah.
Unless it's Clyde.
Right.
No, I answer. So I don't know, what do you think?
I think, here's my big concern, because I had a conversation with Captain Atkins about this too, because we were out of town. I just want to make sure whatever we do, that we develop some policy or procedure to go with it, because I don't want, and neither did Captain Atkins, Nixle to get watered down, right? It needs to be for those emergency notifications. If we start using it too often, the people start blocking the number or they unenroll and they stop hearing it, and then we can't get that out.
Right.
However, one of my concerns is during the mass incident, right, when we're getting ready for that drill over at the school, fire chief, police chief, you're all gonna be tied up on that. Is that a piece where maybe that's where the trustees can step in to push some notifications if it needs to happen?
Yeah, and I don't know that it needs to be a trustee per se. I mean, I think we've got some redundancy built in now. I've got myself and Captain Act, and I can also have two of my sergeants set up. My two new sergeants aren't added yet, but I can add them as well, so I can build an added redundancy, so there's extra layers there. So if we're in the middle of an incident and I'm tied up and Cap's tied up, it still leaves me one of 4 sergeants that we could tap into.
Because when I first heard it, was just basically 2 of you guys had to get on it. You and all your sergeants were on it, but nobody else was on it.
Yeah, it's myself, my captain, and 2 of my sergeants.
And I just think, I don't know.
My big concern is I just want to make sure we have a way to notify. Obviously, if you're tied up in a mass incident,
Yeah, because the question is going to become, if one of you sends that out, you're going to need to talk to one of my staff anyway
right,
to get the information to put out in the first place.
right,
So maybe the communication chain is, it doesn't necessarily have to flow through a trustee per se. Again, your guys' decision, how you want to do that.
right.
Because I think there's going to be communication dialogue anyway, right? If we're in the middle of something, now granted, if we're in the middle of a pretty critical incident, number 19 on my list might be getting a hold of one of you. I may have 19 things in front of you that we need to accomplish
Right.
first. But in any event, I think there should be communication dialogue anyway. It's just a question of how soon can we get that alert out? You know, if I'm tied up, if the cap's tied up, but I do have one of the 4 sergeants available, or I hypothetically contacted Holly as a backup saying, hey, we're in the middle of this. Here's a little bit of information. Can you push this out for us? Or I call one of you. I mean, it's up to you guys. I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong answer.
So we could be in the middle of it.
Yeah, I'm just looking at how the poke holes, the school maybe getting in contact if it was a school situation or if it was a county situation. Just looking at that, I just want to make sure that in the heat of the moment, right, that we're able to do it and not find out that's the failure then.
Yeah.
And maybe we poke holes in it during your live drill and see how that works out.
Yeah, I mean, we'll put something out in advance of that. We'll advertise that event well in advance on social media, but we'll also put out an initial alert in advance.
Right.
Says, hey, on this date and time, there's going to be apparatus at this location.
But I'm saying if it was a
Yeah.
real incident, maybe this is something we could talk to Shackelford
If it was a
about
real
and say,
incident, we would loop in. I mean, if it was a real incident, EMA would be looped in, and Shackelford's office would be playing the role of PIO.
Right.
That's how that would work out.
And that's what I'm saying, maybe we need to plug that into his scenario so we can see if there's holes for us.
Yeah.
And if we need to add the elected officials at that point, to be able to be that contact between him.
Because Ryan would push out reverse 911. He would
Right.
use it. He would utilize that. That would be pushed through him, and then Nixel could be in addition to that as well. So
Right, and then
But that's
just
a
the
good
question is then how do we do that? So maybe that's what we do, Mike, for now, we have Holly added to it, but let's ask Shackelford if we can tie that into his scenario to help us out see if we can poke holes in that process.
that would be tied specifically to an incident where EMA responded.
Right,
So that's going to be infrequent, I hope.
right,
We
yeah,
hope
but
that
and I always like to think worst case scenario, right, so that.
Just to get information out to them, so.
Yeah.
And well, that sort of ties in with number 6, so. Okay, well, I'm good, so you'll let us know if you're seeing any holes or anything. Because I think the trustees it could be good, but then we could mess things up.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
think
we gotta have a clear.
if it's related to something that I'm going to label under the umbrella of a more of a critical, significant incident.
And I think that'd be the only time that the trustees, I think that would be in the policy, that's when
Yeah.
the trustees would
I mean,
activate it.
yeah, whether you guys decided you're going to put it out but in any event, you're still going to be communicating with myself or the fire chief. Yeah,
Well, the way I envision we would be the lowest on the totem pole.
Right.
I think the overall goal is to have some way to get that pushed out. At the end of the day, we want to find a mechanism to do that.
As quickly as possible
Yes.
without interrupting your operation.
Yes, I think we're on the same page.
But if we're not getting pushed out, you're gonna be getting multiple phone calls from me.
Well, yeah, the phone lines will be, dispatch will be overwhelmed with 911 calls. It'll just be an overwhelming incident,
That's fair.
But that's where the EMA piece comes in, where we have to step in. But, if it's a road closure, obviously, we're gonna send it up the chain, so they also know that. I'm just looking at those critical
Yeah.
incidents, should we be looking at that as an option?
Okay.
That's good. Okay, thanks. So you're changing all this now?
Yes, so Roy has already added access, so both Ron and myself have been added. Craig was already on there. And then we'll just kind of review it with him. We did talk today, just, about, there is a general community notification piece to Nixle as well. So back to, we don't want to oversaturate the use of Nixle by sending out too many communications that people don't differentiate between emergency communication and regular. But there is a community notification that can send out emails. So, as we've talked, something coming up like Brimfest, we want to get another way to communicate that, or maybe people don't get on Facebook or our website. You could send out a community notification and it simply goes to the people's email if they've registered for it. So that's something we can start exploring too, of just sending out general notifications that aren't to the level of a Nixle alert and go through an email message versus a text or.
It just doesn't seem like we use that very much, right?
But I think we don't want to use it much.
Right,
We
right.
want it to.
Right.
And so I think my only ask is, can we develop a procedure for this that identifies these are the only things that are going to activate the Nixle, right?
So
I think we need to come up with
So
like,
there is existing policy language within my public alerts policy that addresses Nixle.
but I think we got to tie that into the township then. So can we take that PD
We'll work off that
policy
as a template.
and make it a township?
Sure.
Because I really think we need to outline that so that we all clearly operate inside. This is the times that Nixle's active. So the last thing I want to do is water that down.
There's three categories of messages to send. Advisory, community, and the top alert more is kind of quasi, high need emergency techniques. There's three different categories of messages you can send. And as Holly stated, if you want to send out a community advisory, those strictly just go to email only.
Okay.
But the other two can go to text message, email, and voice. It depends on the person's setup. If they've gone into their Nixle account, they can say, I just want text, or I just want email, or I want text and email, or I want voice. So they have options on that when they set it up. But there are three different categories. So I think, to your point, just kind of getting some parameters on, how often do you want to use the community advisory fees? That's going to be up to you guys as a board to discuss that. But
Yeah, I'd like to can we take your policy, draft it into a township-wide policy, and then maybe bring that back to the next meeting and talk about, so we can set those parameters sooner than later.
Sure.
You think you can put something together and let people know that we have the Brimfest coming up?
Sure. Yeah, there'll be a couple of alerts coming out with Brimfest relative, specifically tied to the traffic and road closures we're going to have. That's going to be the biggest piece of
Just
it.
mention that it's happening, so people
Yep.
know.
Yeah, and I think we could also just do another push. So, if we are, after we draft this policy and we start sending out just general community notices, we can do a push again, just to recommend people go into Nixle, sign up and sign up for a subscription. So I think it's probably a good time just to push it again so people know what's out there.
Did we stop doing the postcards?
We have stopped doing postcards.
Did you
So,
bring that to the board to decide that, or just we internally did it?
Let me-
Because there's a motion that exists on the floor that we're supposed to be doing every quarter.
sure. So let me say, I have not done a postcard this year. So we spent about $5,000 to send out postcards, which is, it might have been a little bit higher than 5,000. And then we end up getting about half of them back, do not return. So and then we did surveys and most people didn't even see the postcard. So the conversation turns to, how do we want to advertise? Do we want to spend thousands of dollars on postcards that it does appear most people aren't paying attention to them? Should we look at something like the Nixle alerts where people can sign up and get it through email? So we can send those out, and I think it is a further discussion. From the last time that we sent them out and the amount of cards that I got back, it really felt like we needed to reanalyze how we were sending out communications.
I guess we should have brought that then to the board, because the reason we had it there, while email sounds great, we have a lot of people who don't utilize that technology. And this is, at $5,000 a year is to fill in that gap. And the reason I asked about the postcards, because that's another way we can put the Nixle QR code on the front of it to say, hey, sign up here for those that can get into the system.
Yeah.
But it's a piece, there was a specific reason we went to the postcards. And so I think we really need to revisit that, and that needs to get back into the loop.
So I'll put it on the next meeting's agenda. I'll give an example. The one we sent out last year, I believe it had the Nixle alerts. It had the community survey for the land,
Comprehensive land.
comprehensive land use plan. I think we had 3 QR codes, and very little return on responses. And that was one of the things we said. It was like, hey, I'll just focus on the comprehensive land use plan of we sent this out in so many different ways. We gave a QR code on the postcard. We had flyers at Brimfest. We did emails. We did meetings. And even sending out these expensive postcards, people just tend to, when they see what they would consider junk mail, they tend to toss it.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'll add this to the next agenda because it does have a really high expense, and all the feedback that we got is, well, I never got a postcard. I would look and their address was on there and one was sent, but they must have thrown it away. And it's like, I
think we need to review it and address this maybe.
Well, we did have some go to Kent. Some of our postcards went to Kent.
Yeah, I think we just have to look at how we were grabbing that address list, and that might need revised also.
But
There's a way to do it.
I can definitely see how people throw those away.
Yeah.
And my wife was guilty of it too.
The downside though is we knew there's populations that we're not reaching that aren't on this treated by. So, I mean, $5,000 is a lot of money, but it's in the grand scheme of things what we spend money on in this township. $5,000 isn't a lot to be able to keep the station out.
I'll put it on the
And I
next
think
agenda.
it was Michelle that was her responsibility. She put it together.
Yeah.
She did. She handed it all off to me. So there is only one way to get an address list. It is not very easy, which you would think it would be to as a township to get an address list of all your residents.
But we have so many zip codes.
Yeah, it's not easy at all. And so I worked with Mike's team in various ways to try and clean up that list. And you would think that you could just call somebody and say, hey, I need an address list for all Brimfield Township residents, and it just doesn't work that way. So
I tried forever to try to get us one zip code. Chicken and I both tried.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. So yeah, even when we do it, there's going to be addresses that shouldn't receive it just because they're in a zip code that you think is in the township. So it's unfortunately, it's a very difficult and expensive process. So I'll put it on the agenda for our next meeting. Next item, so the gazebo, just to talk through the gazebo. So I think I mentioned previously, we scheduled to get that power wash. That's been done. We had some issues with the electricity over there that we thought were related to the construction project. So their team had an electrician come out and take a look at it. Their electrician said that there was a number of items that needed to be brought up to code that were not related to the construction project, and they wouldn't touch it. So I did go out and get some quotes, and we'll be moving forward to get the electric fixed out there. So some of it includes there's little light posts around the gazebo that just need replaced. They're in a sad state. And all of those light posts have electrical outlets on them. So the quote came in, and we'll make sure we get that addressed so that we can put our tree back out there for Christmas.
Is that running back to a single breaker, or is that coming up with multiple feed lines there? Because we used to have a large.
Well, I think they were all tied into that large one, I think.
But I think some of them got ripped out in construction, so I don't know, do we have enough power there to power the tree if we're just coming off the gazebo?
We do. So during the course of getting the quotes, I actually received 2 different quotes. And the first one that we got was to add additional circuits. So really looking at how we were going to use that whole space and potentially what type of electricity would we need to be pulling. So that was the largest quote that I received. And then we got another company in for a quote and just kind of talking through, if we were to have bands over there or, resume the events that we've had, do we need to go to the higher expense and have, additional circuits, or can we just keep it simple and leave it? And based on the nature of events that we're having, if we have bands there that need music hookup or, some lighting.
Bands is very little.
Right. Going with this lower option will meet our needs unless we're looking at changing.
Well, the problem we had before, and Nick, I don't know if you're here, when we put that big thing in for the Rimfest,
Yeah.
remember we wanted, one point, Craig will tell you that, we tried to run power from the fire station. You remember how messed up those wires were? We didn't know where anything went, so that's why we had to do the other thing. So now with the new fire station, a real really, then maybe it'll be easier, I don't know.
I just remember the tree was always a little cracked, even on that large panel board we had, and that was my concern, it's not so much the bands, is once we wrap that whole tree, remember, we'd be calling all the time in the winter, the tree's out, the tree's
Yeah.
out. So I wanna make sure we have enough power to cover that tree.
Right, so the solution that we're looking at, the different solutions, one, I think had 3 circuits and the other one had 2. So there's still gonna be, this lower solution does still have 2 circuits that it'll be pulling from.
And one thing I look into, I mean, it's not gonna be a lot of wires, they have to put up a few poles to move it versus digging. You know, I don't know, it might be worth, I think it's a lot cheaper to go over that with one wire. I mean, gazebos are darn close to the fire station.
Yeah.
I don't see them doing a lot of band concerts.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
maybe, I don't know.
With this solution, based on how we've utilized that space in the past, we should not have an issue.
Yeah, the Christmas lights is where I think we're at,
Yeah.
draw, I just wanna make sure we can cover that front.
Right. I will verify that, but I think based on this 2-circuit solution, it'll more than meet the needs for if we do lights on the gazebo and a tree and together.
Just don't hire the Rolling Stones, you'll need more.
I've mentioned in previous meetings, just preparing for open enrollment. So one of the items that just came to me from our benefits consultant was because of our employee count, our employee count, we're now larger in size, so we're no longer going to qualify as what SUMA calls a transitional group. So we were in this certain group and got our ratings. We no longer qualify for that. So they're going to be giving us a renewal based on a large group. They'll try and select a plan that aligns closest with what they have now. As a result of that, we will be obtaining quotes from other companies for consideration. So in order to get those quotes, our employees will have to complete Form Fire so that we can go out and get the quotes. So I'll be working with the leaders and with the union and with everybody because we'll have about a week or so to try and get everyone into Form Fire to fill out their information so that they can, and then take it out and get quotes for our renewal for next year. And it has to be done, so in order for us to get quotes, we have to have 100% completion of Form Fire. Because they won't give us a rating unless they know what our population's medical state is. Okay. The nice thing about this Form Fire process is it's completely confidential, so the township has no access to see any of the information that employees provide. The only individuals that can access that is our broker, who of course is sharing that with the healthcare companies. But employees will have to go in and enter information such as, you know, what are your chronic health conditions? Have you had surgeries? What medications do you take? So all of that has to be completed in order for us to get a renewal. The host tower in the old town hall. So there is a, I don't know how I want to call it. There's the old host tower that's covered. I don't know what we call it besides the host
It was
tower.
the original host tower.
Original host tower. I think you guys I don't know, it's decorated in wood. So
Right,
long
yeah.
story short, one of the items in looking at the plans for that building, it was not in there to preserve that host tower. So I was in a meeting this morning and we do not have any plans to preserve that space and make sure that you can still see it after construction. So we have 2 options. One is in the ceiling in the old town hall is drop ceilings. So they are getting close to doing drywall in the old town hall and set up the ceiling. They can go ahead and put up that drop ceiling, and then when they're done, we can have somebody come in and then take that drop ceiling down around the host tower and frame it in and put a light so that we can showcase
It'll be a
that
lot cheaper.
old, yes.
I went up there and looked at it, I don't know how we started this mess, it's just, Craig told me that he made it perfectly clear that they wanted to keep it open.
Right.
So somewhere along the line, it didn't get covered. So I just don't want us to cover it up again and then 30 years later, they find out. So,
Right.
I mean, the way that these extra costs are digging at us, I think it'd be easier to get.
I think I said the same thing to Craig.
Just get a good handyman, tell him to go over the top of it, make sure it's gone, and then we'll go in and open it up again.
He was asking about the fans, and I said, just let the fans go until we're done, because it's gonna be cheaper.
But make sure you write it down so we remember.
Of course. So I did, they are running electric in there, and the discussion today is where the outlets need to be. And so one of the things I did ask is that they add an outlet there, because they're already doing that.
All we need is a simple light to shine up there.
Yes, so something simple of maybe like a bar that projects up to show the light, but again, it would be much easier and cheaper if we go ahead, allow them to put that drop ceiling up, and then when this is done, we bring
It'll
in
be
some
a
of
hell of a
the,
lot
yes.
cheaper.
So I just wanted to make sure you were good with that approach, because that is the direction
I think that's a great idea.
that I'm recommending. Okay. I was asked to have revisiting the Facebook access on the agenda.
Okay, well, I'll just take this, Nick. I thought it was a good idea that we got ourselves off, but now, I mean, nothing against anyone, it's just, we're not getting enough content on it, and it's my fault too, because I don't do stuff, you used to do stuff. I just think we need to have this connection with some of the voters.
Yeah.
Not the voters, I didn't want to say that,
Just the residents.
Yeah. Because, I mean, good or bad, I mean, it worked, and then, I did some checking. So I was talking to Craig, I was talking to Holly, and, Craig had mentioned that he wants to be, they want to be able to do it, but like you said, there are so many fire departments that have their own page.
Yeah, I
mean,
want
they're the darlings of the safety forces, sorry, Roy. And I thought at one point they had their own page.
They did, but they weren't getting a lot of adoption. So him and I have talked about it. They weren't getting a lot of attention to that page. It's hard to really build up momentum on a page. And the township already has that following. Now, obviously, we don't have as much momentum because we haven't been posting to it as much. But if we get back into that cycle of posting, you already have a very large audience. Try to build that back up.
I would love to, if we do this, for us to focus, whether focus and not tell them to go to the police department page, go to that, because, I mean, people love your page, your Facebook page, and I just think it's a good tool. I just think as trustees or fiscal officer, it'd be nice if we could just post on there again.
I think we lost.
As long as we don't, it's not a political page, we're just trying to.
It's having that real conversation with our residents. I mean, I think that's one of the things that I've noticed over the past year that we've lost here somewhat, is that while we're growing and we need to deal with bigger organization problems, we're still a small township, and that's what the residents want. They want that connection to you, they want that connection to me, they want that connection to Beyond Zoo. They don't want it to go through 10 layers to get to that. They like that real talk that we've developed here. I mean, that's what Brimfield is, and I think we've made some moves that have lost that.
I miss my stupid videos.
Yeah, I mean, really, it should be back to that. We used to alternate every other meeting when we do the videos. I started doing the videos myself on my own page, but I think we just lose that connection. And I think it's
As long as we keep it good. I mean, we don't want to turn it into a firestorm. I mean,
right.
That's easy.
But I think we just keep to the facts, like we've done before. We say, here, we're reading the meeting minutes, this is what happened, because no offense, Joe, nobody wants to watch a 3-hour movie they record, right? It's a long watch. So if we can do it in 10 minutes, I think those are pieces. And there's sometimes that, hey, I'm driving around and I see something, hey, let me give you an update. This is what happened.
And I mean, even in the event of emergency.
Yeah.
How fast Facebook spreads.
Yes. But I'll be honest, half the time, no offense to Roy or Craig, but I hear it from Facebook before I hear it from them because they're out dealing with it and the public's posting.
No, I heard about a fire behind France before I even knew there was a fire.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
Because they're dealing with the emergency. It's not their job to stop the emergency. They call us.
So, but I would really encourage Craig to start his own page. I think, do the calendar of the month guy. That would be cute.
So if
I just think it would, because there are people that love the fire. They got the, you know what I mean? There's, we still have that old volunteer fire department mentality in a lot of people. And I'm just amazed at how many older people are on Facebook.
Yeah, it's a very, that's the group that you're catching there. The younger people you're catching on different platforms, but I really think we should really kind of rescind what we did in the past and take it back and have it back into our hands here where we have some interaction.
So if I could just make a couple comments, one.
I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we rescind it.
Okay.
And second for discussion.
Yeah, I'll second that for discussion.
So I think I heard a comment made that there hasn't been many posts, and we do post about 2 to 3 times a week. When we initially changed this, Joe and myself, were having issues containing it because posts were going out. So one, there was a post put out with a picture of the tornado, and there was nothing else posted. And so all of a sudden there's a post out there and it just had very basic information, and Joe and I are trying to figure out who posted this, why, what were they trying to say. It didn't have thorough communication. So it was disruptive for us because then we're trying to figure out what's going on, what was the intent, and really that post sparked some negative comments because there was not much posted with it. And it was like, why are we just getting a picture of a tornado and nothing else from Brimfield? The second item that happened is there was a post of a fundraising event that was posted very briefly by mistake, and then it was taken down, and the internet went wild. People were taking pictures, sending it to us. Why was this posted? This is a township page. So Joe and I started putting out fires on social media that we really had no control over, no information, and it takes time to undo that. So those were two, I would say, of the biggest events of what triggered this conversation. And when we did this, it was not to limit or censor, as I've heard those words used, limit or censor anyone's voice. It was to try and put some controls in place so that we weren't dealing with a backlash of mysterious posts or limited information. And so, when we made this change, it was send us your information, we'll put the communication out, we'll get it out immediately. And I was just a little taken aback because we've never been asked to put anything out. So, I am completely fine with whatever decision you make. I just want to make sure that we're not in the same position that we were before, trying to figure out who's posting, what they intended, what the message was, because it becomes very frustrating and time consuming for us. And it's very easy when you have multiple pages to post the wrong thing on a wrong page. And then that's where I'm trying to figure out, it was a mistake, and he wasn't trying to raise it. It was a little bit of a nightmare. And it's a simple mistake. I even commented on posting, hey, I've got 2 pages. Every time I go to post on Facebook, I have to make sure I'm posting to the right one. It's a little bit of a complicated process.
Well, for people over 60, we'll send them to you. I just think there's some points in the evening if something happens.
Sure,
Yeah.
I completely get it, and
It stays up past 9 o'clock. So, I want to try to keep, just get the way it was.
And I see the 2 issues that you're talking about. On the one, you could have went back and it tells you who posted it. You can look at the post under the admin controls, you can see who posted it, and you can follow that.
I think the person that did it was just trying to get it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a weekend, so then I'm calling, it's just a matter of, so I'm here on a Saturday, I don't know if it was a Saturday or what, Friday after work, I can't remember when the tornado hit, but then it's like, okay, so I'm on a Saturday, somebody posted something, I have to figure out who it was, call to see what they intended, respond to all the people who now there's an emergency. So absolutely, I can do that. It's just a little more disruptive. And again, those are accidents, and I get it.
I think what you don't take into account sometimes though is, Mike, you've been here 20 plus years, I've been here, going on 8 years, all the positives that come out of that ability for us to communicate with the community. That's what this community wants, and they want to hear it from us. And if I make a video, I make a 10-minute video, the file size of that is going to be real pain for me to get over to you, because I do it on my phone, I got to try to get it to you. It's not an easy process where it's just simple, upload it from my phone, sit on the counter, and go do some work, and come back to it 20 minutes later. I think we're creating hurdles that we don't need to, and really, maybe we need to step this back.
I think as us as trustees, we just got to take a stop before we send it and just make sure, because mistakes do happen, believe me.
It happens.
Yes.
Mistakes happen. But I think giving that authority back to the trustees and the elected officials is important, and that's where it should be at.
Sure. I would just advise too that I will pull some information. There's been a lot of stuff that's been sent out from the OTA about how easy it is to violate the sunshine laws when trustees are using and have access to the social media. So I'll just pull that information and send it to you guys so you can familiarize yourselves to ensure that they recommend that you shouldn't participate in chats when those posts are out and following up on things. So, and again, so I'll send that to you, and then I would just ask that we work through a process so that when you are posting, maybe there's an advance notice to us so that we're not then looking to see who it is, calling you, see what the intent was, following up with residents. So I would just ask.
While we're discussing this, is it worth limiting the chat and just turning off the chat, just making it informational, or could you?
I don't know what the legal restrictions on that
I know on some of my pages I've limited the chat.
But as a government office, I think we'd have to get feedback. I don't think we can limit the chat.
But what if they would just text you on your email? I don't know. I'm just throwing this out.
Yeah, I think that we'd have to look at some case law on that. There's a lot of pieces that happen with it. It's like you can't hide or remove comments either unless there's certain parameters.
And you're gonna have these
Yeah.
There's keyboard warriors out there whenever. And the sheriff is under attack right now too. Yeah, so I heard or something.
Yeah, and I think it's important, a lot of people, that is their means of communication, so by limiting their ability to ask questions on a post, I think sends a different message that we might not want to go down that path.
Just the big thing is we can't enter into, we can't make it worse by, what we say.
Right. Yeah, really, I think the biggest thing that I miss is being able to get out in the public is that 10-minute recap. People enjoy that. And hearing from us in our setting, because as leaders, we're really just trying to be, we're another citizen who's trying to help out here in law enforcement. That's our small.
We just have to, you should really look into it, there's something, I don't know, who told me about us promoting new businesses and stuff? And we've got to be careful about, because if we promote one business, why haven't we promoted it? I used to go out and do.
Yeah, we used to do this. We had a rotating thing where we just grab a new business each month just to welcome the community. And I mean, that option is there. That's something we could discuss further.
But I mean,
I think this is the first step.
But Holly says is important, so maybe in her spare time, when she has not of, we need to look into this. We just got to let her get caught up.
And then I would just ask that if to your point, if the fire department wants to resume on Facebook, I think it would be best for them to have their own page if they need help growing that page. I did look just locally, Rootstown, Ravenna, Talmadge, all of them have police, fire, and their town hall type pages.
I just think it's a good page, have Ron help with it,
I don't know how much they're gonna post on it. We can have that discussion and bring it back to the board. I know there was not interest from the chief to do it at this point to have.
Well, just maybe you can have someone else do it. Unfortunately, that's the way you get in touch with people now.
Right. We gotta look at the records retention to their page then too, so it'd be an additional piece.
Yeah, I don't think we need to be on TikTok, but,
You don't wanna do TikTok?
okay. So we got a motion on the floor?
Yep.
Okay, Mike
Yes.
and Nick.
Yes.
Okay.
Next item, I have collected quotes for township signs. You have before you and in the OneDrive folder, 4 different quotes for signs. So what we started with is just asking them to give us various designs to consider. So in our initial discussions, we really, the board had indicated that they were interested in having a similar design for our signs as we do for the signs entering and exiting the township.
So we're just gonna review these.
Yes, yeah, there's a lot of information there. So I've given you all of the drawings and recommendations that they gave us. I do have a preference in the design, but I wanted you guys to be able to see all that was submitted and the costs related to them. So we did get some quotes to have, mainly the sign would look similar at the top to our big signs coming in and out of the township, and then the bottom would have some type of stone design. They are very expensive. But you have the quote there if you guys are drawn to that one. There are some other ones that are very nice that look similar, that have pine poles and posts. So there's a lot to look through. Of course, I have my favorite, but I want you guys to be able to take a look at the cost, and let's resume, a further conversation on where we want to go, if we want to get more designs, or, essentially what your preferences are. So in all of those, you'll see the costs for the various signs. One of the things I want to explore as well, and I'll provide them, but we took pictures of all of our existing signs, and a lot of them are all different. So, once we decide on a design, looking at some type of phased approach to, we have 2 signs out here, Lions Park and the community center, we could put those on the list to replace as well, just to have some consistency in the signage. So in the quotes, I did ask for them just to give me numbers for all of them. And then it'll be up to further discussion if we want to do them all at once, a phased approach, or what that looks like.
Some of the signs we put up they're good signs. I hate to rip them down, spend more money.
Yeah,
Maybe
and
it's a phased approach over time, just to try to get consistency in that marketing and that look.
Okay, so we'll review them and then so I can stop up if you have any questions.
yeah, and I can put it on the agenda for the next meeting so we can talk further. So if there's more information you guys want after looking at them, or if you're ready to make a decision, then we can do it at that time. So I'll put it on our next agenda for follow-up.
Okay. Sounds good.
I have one item for board approval. Approval is needed to engage in a contract with Marshall McLennan, who is our current benefits consultant, for ACA reporting only services in an amount not to exceed $3,500. So I did get a quote from Marsh to take over the ACA reporting. This is a form that we have to issue annually for our employees for tax reporting purposes. It just shows that the township has offered coverage as we're supposed to, and that it's affordable in relation to the Affordable Care Act. So this cost includes, it's a little bit more because bringing them on as a new ACA consultant, there's some startup cost. And then so what the process is we give them all the information to populate the forms. I have to go through, make sure all the forms are correct. I approve them, and then they will send the forms out to all of our employees. And then also in March of the following year, they send the actual report to the government for reporting.
Okay, so they'll do the share reports?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, Mike
Yes.
and Nick.
Yes.
And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mike.
Thanks. Our permit fees year-to-date is $138,959.60. Old business updates, search warrants were obtained, police, fire, health, building, zoning departments all performed inspections. Police didn't, they were there to let us in, they didn't do an inspection. We met with the owner's representative after that meeting, and they're developing plans for a future Fairfield Inn by Marriott. So building department, as well as myself, the fire, were all involved, health department, and it looks like they're going to proceed as a Fairfield.
So is this a new owner operator that would be running the Fairfield?
Yes, they've got an owner's rep. They started, actually, when we were in there, building department issued a stop work permit because they were in there replacing the sprinkler system without permits. So it's a good thing we did this.
So they are pretty much on board for putting a Fairfield in?
Yes, they are. That's their chain. They're working on plans with building right now.
Is that more higher end, or is that a Marriott?
Yeah, it'll be a higher end. Marriott has a different standard, so
Any idea about the water park?
they'll be using it. Kenda Tire, construction status, Campbell Construction continues installing the steel and the masonry for the structure. The roof and the sides are almost complete. The VA Cancer Imaging and Infusion Center has started framing the structure, and steel is going up as we speak as well.
That's a big building.
It is. New business, Dollar General was issued zoning certificate to build at Route 18 Talmadge Road next to the Brimfield Family Restaurant. Construction schedule is going to be to follow. I tweaked the plans a little bit. They had like a brick veneer going around the whole perimeter on the outside. There was no windows. I added dormer windows to the front, and then I had brick for the whole front of the building, and then down the one parking lot side. The other two sides that nobody will be able to see, I just let that as siding only. But it is a nice, it's going to look pretty sharp. Joe's Barbecue zoning certificate expired in August of 2024. His architect submitted for an extension of time, which I did approve. Then from that point on, he did get phased approval from the building department. Dunkin' Donuts at 152 Talmadge Road is approved, and they started demolishing the structures, and they'll be working on footers this next week. And that concludes my report.
The house to the left, is that owned by somebody?
Yes, and to the Robin, and I talked to the one on the right about 3 times today, because he had some concerns and opacity and things of that nature.
Are there people still living there?
The one on the right side, the one on the left, I don't believe so.
You think that'll be raised anytime soon? Or?
It didn't sell, so just this lot sold.
Okay, that's great. So when are they gonna start Dunkin' Donuts?
They're starting next week with footers. They already demolished the building, started that. I talked to Brent Hartman, their engineer, today. They have full intention of starting. Survey work was, at the end of the day, I was talking to the homeowner next to him, and they were doing a survey as we're having this meeting.
Purchase signs as well. Their signs are already, they bought those already, so they're
Yeah.
ready to go.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a fast build.
It is.
And, Sheets is going really quick.
Great, not quick.
So I don't know if anybody's seen it, but yeah, it's,
Matter of a couple of days, sides were going up.
yeah, it's unbelievable. They got a good team working there. Yeah. I would
What
expect
about the
them-
rumor of Buc-ee's?
Which one? I'm sorry.
Buc-ee's?
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
You ever stopped at one?
Other updates, if you want to know, I mean, Drug Mart is still good. I'm working with our architect right now. We're going back and forth on several different things. Right now, there's no variances, and they look for like a November start.
Any updates on that retail plaza next to McDonald's?
Yes, they're on the BZA for a variance. So there's 15 units, all of them are right around 1,500 square foot,
It's gonna be just a single story building, or are they talking about doing the double story apartments above, or just
single story.
single story?
We're finding out that, as we're going to the APA meetings, and we're finding out that it's very difficult to get that section. I know Cleveland's looking at the old lakefront right by the airport. I don't know if you heard anything about that, but the mixed use next to each other seems to be working out instead of in the same unit. So our IC district was the intent of the IC district was to mix the uses and put in, just similar we have, the Veteran Center, and then we'll have the apartments next door. That's what we'll be looking, more of a mixed use like that.
Any word on any businesses there yet, or nothing official?
There actually is 3 that have not officially signed on yet, but they're looking at it, and we're going to accommodate a drive-through on the one side with stacking. There was a little bit of a surprise and a setback on there because everything they thought was shovel ready on these sites, including Drug Mart. And then we found out when I went through the engineering process that they need underground retention in both locations. So I think there's a little bit of renegotiating of price with that in mind. But the underground retention will go underneath that plaza as well as Drug Mart. And that's what threw Drug Mart off a little bit there. It's about a month behind because of that. There's still the townhomes still to go down on Kent State property. We're looking at 107 townhome / condo.
It's different than the ones behind the element.
Sort of down.
Correct, but
down from the alley.
these you'll own. They won't be rentals. They're going to be owned. The good news about that is that it brings water down 43, and then we're going to be tiffing that for a 30-year tiff to bring water down
Yeah,
43
doesn't
as
have
well.
water.
No.
No water down there.
No, we're getting access pretty much where the old Dillon's was, and there's a new auto repair place. We're looking to shoot across the street from there.
That'd be good.
But yeah, the good news with that is to mix that use, bring those in, it brings water down, and that was the key part we needed for years down
I know, when do we get saturated with all these buildings?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, there's going to be quite a bit more coming. We have the assisted living center back on the agenda. They skipped the apartments. The 42 unit apartment complex is skipped at this point, and they just want to concentrate on a senior living facility. So to be villa-style homes in the back,
Where's this?
and then diagonal from Aldi's. So it was approved once before.
St.
It's a little bit
Edwards?
of yeah, Village of St. Edwards. That's right.
So they're still going St. Edwards?
Yeah, it's a go. So they're coming into the BZA and looking to redo that plan with us and get reapproval.
Okay. Lot going on.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Sure.
Dave.
Just a few updates. The chip and seal work, should be completed this week. They'll get the road swept, all the lines painted on, everything. We've just been doing some maintenance on some catch basin, doing a little ditching. We did some road mowing in areas that were starting to have some site concerns. Just to let you know, dump truck 24, we finally got all the parts in, and the truck's finally repaired and back at the shop.
Hey, did you get many complaints on the chip and seal? I didn't get any.
You got two.
No. I heard some people just ask what was happening, but it wasn't.
Yeah,
negative
no,
as bad.
I had less complaints on the 8 miles of chip and seal than I did on my 2 miles of asphalt, so.
Are they gonna come to street sweep that pretty soon?
Yeah, it's supposed to happen this week. And then as soon as they sweep it, they're gonna put lines on everything.
This
It's
is the
just
first-
piling up in some of the corners.
Yeah.
So are they gonna take the gravel?
I'm not sure yet which
Need it, or-
component, no, it's got the dust, the dirt. Yeah, we can use it like at the parks like we've been doing, filling in potholes here and there and that kind of stuff.
Trail material?
Yeah, I don't know if it'd be good trail material. It likes to scatter pretty good. It doesn't get compacted in, so. Just some new business. We leveled off some areas at the Kelso house and put some grass seed down where they put new electric and stuff in. That way, hopefully it's ready to go for Brimfest. The new dump truck, I just got that known that we may receive it by the end of the month. So finally, the new one will show up, so. Just one other thing, I just had a meeting with the county and Sheets at out there at Sanctuary View in 43. They are planning on removing the island and sign starting on the 30th of this month. So it's gonna take a few days, but as of right now, we've all agreed they're gonna try to do without road closure, like it was planned before, where we're gonna shut the whole road down for 3 days. They're looking at bringing in AWP, setting up barrels, cones, flagging traffic, and doing it all in one shot, so hopefully that'll all work out good. That's their tentative date, 9:30. Just let get it out there just in case. They said the quicker the better. That way they're ready to go their sheets. So, and other than that, that's all I got.
Well, okay, thanks, Dave. Cassidy.
All right. So under old business, I have an update on the McGuire Park driveway project for you. I believe it was last meeting, we discussed the Sutton Crossing sign removal. The sign has since been removed. That was on 9/10. And with that being out of the way, we contacted McBee Paving, and we are on the schedule for the driveways construction November 4th through November 8th. There was a bit of a delay on that project, but we are on their schedule for that time. And we are working with Sutton Crossings right now to get some new concepts for a replacement sign for the one that we did take down. So I will be bringing that to the board hopefully in the next meeting or so. We are working hard on Brimfest right now, pretty much all we're doing. So there should be an attached schedule there, but we are just putting the finishing touches on all of the last little pieces and getting all the information sent out to everyone there. So under new business, I wanted to update the board on the passage of House Bill 47. This was passed at the end of July, and this requires AEDs to be placed in all public athletic fields and schools. And we need to be compliant by October 24th. So I've contacted the fire department and I've been working with Joe. We're going to make sure that we get those in there by that time.
How are we gonna secure those?
That is part of the piece we're working on. Yep. They do create, there's some like freestanding cabinets that have like weatherproof cabinets on them. So we'll need them at Lions Park and also at the town center fields. Lions Park will be a little more simple because we have closer electric access if we need that. And we do have the shelter with the dugouts. Town center fields, we're still trying to figure out how we're gonna make that work there.
Should be electric close to that storage unit, might be able to tie in there.
Okay,
Because electric was ran diagonally underneath that field.
yeah,
What about where the water is?
I wonder if they could secure it to that.
That's what I'm saying, or even maybe it's just a policy in our rental agreement when those fields are rented that they, because there's that keypad on the back, they open up the storage unit during.
Yeah.
Use. Use with that in rental agreement.
Mhm.
But that way, when it's not used, being rented, ready to secure.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll be code, but it'll be worth looking at.
yeah. And then there's also, there's a couple different types of AEDs. Nick, you might already be familiar with them, but some of them do have tracking devices in them, especially the ones that are outdoors if we're worried about a security factor. And then the other piece is Hannah and I will need to be trained how to respond in a situation that would require an AED. So we'll be working on that as well.
The FD should be able to provide that training.
Okay, right. And then a McGuire Park update. Unfortunately, I heard that Mildred McGuire has passed away. That was at the end of July, I believe. And she was the co-owner of the property along with Tim. She was his sister-in-law. So in her honor, I would like to recommend that I don't know if you needed to vote on this, but it'd be my suggestion to name the lake after her and name it Lake Mildred.
Well, I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
She was pretty instrumental in helping us get through.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Mike
Yes.
and Nick.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. All right, there were two items I wanted to bring to the board for approval. I did get a quote for some permanent holiday lights at our gazebo and our library. As you know, every year we do pay for temporary light installation at some of our buildings. So I did get quotes for these. And this type of permanent lighting, these are lights that are hidden like within the fascia of the building. So they're not going to be, wires that are stapled onto the outside of the building. They're going to be hidden. And then these are also app controlled, so you can change them to be red, white, and blue for 4th of July, Christmas, Halloween, whatever you'd like to do. And then you can also change them to be patterns. You can have them sync to music if you had a concert going on. So that could be a really neat component. And then this is, a bit of a larger cost, but if you think about it over time, it would probably save us money in the long run. So the quote that I got for these two would be $15,077. And I spoke with Holly and John, and they agreed that we could possibly take that money out of the NOPEC grant funds. We did have a bit of a surplus in there. We had some rollover from 2022 and 2023.
Did we use it all up on siding, 22 and 23?
No, so the siding was $17,750, and before that, the total was about $63,000 still.
Yeah, so after we pay for the siding, we'll have $43,390.33 left in NOPEC grant.
So what kind of warranty are there on these lights?
They have, is that in your packet? I did put it in the folder on the teams. Let me see.
So would they be in this year?
They have a lifetime guarantee on all parts and a 2-year labor warranty.
So this would be similar to what the FD did, right? We have the new building where you can see it on the fire side, the red lights are up now. It's going to be similar to that.
They're gonna be, I'm not sure if it's gonna be exactly like that. These are like along the trim of the building.
the fire department is.
Is
Yeah,
it?
there's
Okay.
a fascia around the.
Okay, then yeah.
Okay.
I told Craig to turn on those lights again.
Yeah, it looks so much better. Come on.
Yeah, you gotta ignore some of the comments to get it. So we're gonna look like Las Vegas when all these lights are on.
Yes, they're gonna be flashing. Come into the library.
Play the slots.
Yes.
My only concern was the money, just because Craig has a product, or you had there's talk about we need to get those garage doors replaced on the old garage. They're gonna need some replacement, but there's enough no that money there.
Well, he's got they're putting new garage doors on it now.
The
old garage.
separate garage that's behind the station,
A shed.
that's on the way over to the
Oh,
library.
the Park and Rec's garage.
Half of it's parking right.
Yeah,
The other half is fire. We want to get lighter doors that are energy efficient in there.
okay, well, I mean,
Maybe the garage door openers.
Yeah, they-
will be easier.
yeah, they can definitely, those shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah.
I told him he needs to get that overhang emptied out and all that junk.
Yeah.
Then,
Well, they're
okay.
waiting until construction's done because they get it.
Yeah, it's looking better, so. Thanks to Holly. Okay,
Okay, so we need a motion,
So I'll make a motion to use the NOPEC money to buy permanent holiday lighting for the gazebo in the library.
I'll second that.
okay, Mike
Yes.
and Nick.
Yes.
Okay.
Who's gonna be in charge of doing the lighting at the library?
Well, that's a good question. We'll have to see how many people can have access to the app, but I'm sure we can
Or
both
you
have
can just
access
do
to
it
it.
and you guys will just turn it on and off?
Yeah, we can do that too.
Well, you're looking at seasonal, right, pretty much, or?
Well, it depends. I guess we could do it for Brimfest. We can do it if there's other events going on.
When do you think they put them in? Before Christmas?
I'd hope so. I think so.
So we could start saving money right
Yeah.
away?
That would be nice.
Yeah, and Cassie's also getting a quote to do the town hall.
That wasn't in the original bid, the rest of the building?
I do not believe so. I'm 99% sure that it's not in there.
It is not.
So, that as well as, was there one more, Cassie? Is it just the town hall? No, yeah. So we'll bring that to the next meeting.
Okay.
Right, and then my last item is for the temporary holiday displays. So last year, we contracted with SMC Light Display, and they did the larger, there's like the gingerbread men and all those figural pieces. So I wanted to ask for approval of the holiday light displays from SMC in an amount not to exceed $16,700. That is what we spent last year on those.
So we'll have as much as we had last year?
Yes.
Are you doing any part of the old town green behind the station?
Yeah, and that's why I didn't have a itemized quote, because we'll need to decide exactly where those pieces are going to go.
Right, because it's hard to see with all those sheds and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I mean, like, from the library to the park and rec garage, that whole area.
Yeah. And he said, with those kind of things, he has a huge warehouse full of them. So there's a lot of last minute substitutions like, hey, this doesn't fit here, so we can move this piece here and that kind of thing. So,
Right, the one thing when we're talking about that little piece in between, we really need to figure out the sidewalk. Because it's gonna be said and done, and
Well, it's gonna be a good time to get a quote on that because we need the sidewalk still for the gazebo too. It's missing. Gotta get those stairs back in.
because there's nothing in there in the plans about the sidewalk, right? Right, Mike? I think we didn't have anything.
and I wanted to say that this approval was to just secure the contract with SMC because it is getting closer to the season. He would just need a commitment from us, and then we would get the final invoice from them once everything's said and done.
Okay, so, roll call.
I need a motion
Yeah,
first.
I'm gonna make a
For
motion.
discussion.
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion that we approve the $16,700 for the holiday lighting from SMNC.
I'll second that for discussion. Yeah, I think this is the start. If you could bring back to us what that's a plan proposal,
Yes,
just so we can see it. And just working out what that holiday event's gonna be for this winter too.
Yes.
We gotta make sure it happens this Christmas.
Yes.
Last year we had some issues with the weather, but. Okay.
Yeah, I know
I just don't wanna lose out on it.
it'd be nice to bring part of it back to the town hall, I know there's some discussion. It's just, even the bad thing, if it rains, you're messed up.
Right. It's just, that was the first year, I don't think we've had that in a long time, and that was hard for a lot of residents. That's a big thing. They look forward to these little pieces. It's that small town feel that we talk about. Fall Harvest Festival, Brimfest, Christmas night piece, all those are important.
I mean, is that something we should be thinking about, possibly? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how far along we're gonna be by Christmas, or it's right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think we could add that to our next agenda as well, just to talk about the placement of all of that, the lights, where we want to hold the event.
Well, I love having the Kelso lit up. I mean, I think that's beautiful, but if we just expand the whole thing, I don't know.
Well, and I'd like to, I think maybe we get the approval so we get SMC under contract. I'd like to revisit the
I
Christmas
think it's a
lights.
woodpecker.
I'd like to revisit the Christmas lights, because originally we had a plan of trying to maybe buy some pieces that, too, but we could revisit that a little bit. Reduce long-term costs.
I like the idea of the LED lights. If we can get some of them taken care of.
Yes. Just that we, not put more work on Dave, but we can have a few pieces that we put up. Help reduce those long-term costs.
Yeah, well, I think we're moving in the right direction. We just gotta, I mean, my big thing is that town green. I mean, check that area back by the garage, just where they used to have the shelter, right? Where they did all the gambling. Wasn't that where the shelter was?
There was a shelter there, yes.
Yeah, because that was considered part of the town green back then.
We got the amphitheater we need to
Use it.
revitalize too, so.
Yeah.
Well, let's get through this construction project, but this will at least get the lights secured so we can get moving on that project. Because Brimfest will be here shortly and be switching gears quick.
Okay, sounds great. Joseph?
We have
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, okay, so, Mike,
Yes.
okay, and Nick,
Yes.
okay, motion approved, not to exceed $16,700.
Before we move off of parks, I do have an update on an item. I don't know if we need to amend the agenda for me to speak to it. I forgot to put on,
Is it gonna be action or?
no action, it's really just an update on the fence at the athletic fields.
That should be okay with that.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
taking action.
So it's just, at the last meeting, you guys approved to add a gate and another entrance and move the fence. And part of that was, the need to add that gate was for the fireworks at Brimfest. So I called the fireworks company. So I was looking for a solution because, one, to add the gate today and then move it later would have a higher cost. If it would be cheaper if we just did it all at once. Add the gate, move the fence, add the gate all at the same time. So I was looking for another solution to cut down on the cost of having to do two different actions with the fence company. So I did speak to the fireworks company, and as long as they can borrow a gator, they do not have to drive onto the grass. They can use our gator to just transport their items onto the grass instead of driving it. So that would allow us time to do the moving of the fence and adding the gate all at once, and then reducing the cost of that. The other item, just as an FYI, and part of another reason for the delay in moving the fence, was you guys did make that decision the last to have us move it, but there is at least one outstanding item out there that proposed, so there was two things. One, the first proposal had been to put a pavilion in the grassy area, which is why we moved the fence. And then two, there is a recommendation before the BZA, the discussion. Zoning commission, sorry. Before the zoning commission, that grassy area was one of the recommendations of a potential place for the food trucks. Again, not that that's where it's going to end up, but that was one proposal that, eventually we'll come back to you guys for a discussion on how we want to move forward. So after that meeting, just kind of talking through next steps, we thought, let's just find a solution to get those fireworks there, and then we can come back and talk and get the fence moved and the gate all at the same time.
To add to that, so zoning commission made a motion to move that temporary vendor street into the park district. So we have a whole separate park district now that was approved. They're putting the temporary vendor street within the park district, which allows for any of the park districts, whether it's Portage Parks or our parks. And then they're not going to pinpoint a location itself. They're putting it in the general there. It's at regional planning. It's got to go through the whole process. You have to, just an FYI where it's at.
Do we want to make a motion to put this on the agenda? Because my opinion is we just move forward with moving that fence. Do we need a motion to tell you to keep moving it where we originally did, or do you?
Well, I think we'd save a lot of money by just letting them use the gate right now.
Right.
And then.
Well, because if we're gonna move it, do they need to use the gator, and they cut part of that fence out now, and just open it up so they can just drive two poles, just be done. Because they're gonna move it in a couple of weeks. They gotta take part of that fence down anyways.
Yeah, I guess I was just looking at, I didn't want to damage the fence, but we would have to pull up the posts with the fence in order to create enough space for them to drive their,
How far are those poles apart? Not very far.
they need 9 feet to get their trailer through, so you would have to pull up posts. So I was just trying to look at the least amount, I don't want to damage that, I'd rather.
If we cut the fence and we got the east back, they're cracking it.
Right.
And just put fertilizer out.
I just wanna make sure that we're moving forward with fence movement sooner than later, because that's areas that need to be backfilled in,
Right.
grass seed put down. Because really, we're coming on October, that's the last time to see before we get ready to spring season.
So you guys did already approve it, so at the last meeting, so I can move forward. I just was looking for a low, like I said, it would have cost us more to add the gate and then move it later, so I was looking to reduce
When you
that
say move
cost.
it later, I mean, move it when they move the whole thing.
Yeah,
So
so
they were
we,
just putting in a gate for the.
they were, and then we were gonna move the whole thing, and there would have been an extra cost to do it in 2 separate motions, so we do it all in one, it's a little less expensive.
So we're still moving forward. with what
Yes,
we've done.
you guys already approved to do that, I just didn't wanna do it in 2 motions, I was trying to.
We're not voting on this, but my thoughts on that, we're gonna put or whatever it's called. And
Right.
at this point, with the lack of space, we don't know when there'll be more field somewhere else, coming up. I don't even think it's something we need to worry about, putting another shelter. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think we just move the fence and get the play area in there for the barn. I mean, it's what we need, so.
I had to watch a Walsh Hudson game in the sun yesterday, soccer, that was brutal. It's brutal.
Yeah.
So, at least it's only 2 36-minute halves. So, okay. So we're good, Howie?
We're good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Under parks, just real quick, Dave, question for you on the driveway construction. Are we gonna be running into any problems with the weather? Do you think, or we're gonna be okay with that? It's good for 11-4. Because I saw that late date, so I wanted to get your opinion before we say, yeah, we're good with this. And then we have to driveway with those unlocks.
Well, they're going to, I'm pretty sure they're putting 1s and 2s and everything in it, with compaction and all that.
Okay.
So as long as the weather's holding above 40, you can put the asphalt down. You know what I mean? It should be all, it just all depends on what Mother Nature brings at that point.
It's definitely weather permitting. If we get a
Right.
blizzard and, yeah,
That date's just making me nervous about
Yes.
that.
I would say the crucial thing is getting that grading done, and not so much the paving, getting the grading in 1s and 2s, because we have a cross easement going with the VA to work continuously with them. So they're gonna wanna get going and put their parking lot in, they're not gonna want us to grade it after.
Right. Which I'm fine with that. I was more worried about the asphalt, right?
Right.
And the asphalt, I mean, you could come to the point of stopping it. You know what I mean? If it's that bad, I mean, I'd put asphalt down before middle of December. It just all depends on your weather, and asphalt.
In your base, you could go down to 32 almost, just on base, it's your surface course you go.
Yeah, so that,
We can just monitor that, I guess is what I'm asking for.
more than likely, they may even just get a base asphalt. I mean, and then you have to come back and top it next year.
So for the winter season, are we gonna put up, keep people from going back there?
I mean, I would think so. We wouldn't be ready for people to come in yet.
Once they see a parking lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Throw some trees on it.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thanks. Go.
I just have an update. So I've started listing some of the township's extra assets on Gov Deals. We've completed 2 auctions. The first auction was for the old solar panels off the original town hall. Those sold for $200. And I sold 7 of our old Verizon phones. We switched to AT&T last year. So the admin phones that we had with Verizon, I sold all 7 of those for $813.99. So in total, I was able to bring in back into the township $1,013.99 just by selling some stuff that was sitting around. And I'm working with Holly, if we have any other extra stuff, we're gonna have, my understanding, we might have quite a bit of extra electrical boxes and things from the construction project. And I'll continue to work with that. So I'm kind of making myself the point of contact for the admin side of getting rid of our excess stuff.
Wow. Hey, what about solar? Didn't they have those, did Brian return those boxes and stuff?
What
That you
boxes?
used for the solar energy?
The inverter?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still in my office. It's broken.
Did you sell that or?
No, it's broken. It doesn't.
Oh,
It,
broken.
yeah, the case is cracked, so it's not watertight anymore. So it's useless.
Okay.
I still technically have it, but it's going to be disposed of here shortly. I just haven't got to it yet.
I'm glad you're getting rid of some of the stuff.
Yeah, so we're able to list them and people voted on them. So or not voted, but bid on them. So at least get rid of some stuff, make a little extra cash, I guess.
Thank you. Thanks for doing that.
Yep.
That's all you got?
That's all I got for right now. Just and as Holly said, I'm really focusing on the construction, trying to juggle vendors and the ever-changing scope with Rycon and what did get done and what didn't get done, and continue working with QCI to see if we can remedy some of that.
Okay. Well, cemetery, we had a great, Nick and I both signed it. Fiscal office, John didn't get anything. Holly did not get anything.
Pardon me?
John didn't get anything on fiscal.
No.
Okay, we're in new business. No executive session. I'm gonna make a motion, we end this meeting.
I'll second that. Yes.
And like,
Yes.
meeting adjourned.
Seven.